Time. Okay, so I've got the fan installed. I stole it off of that one over there. I've got the regulator installed. There's the custom harness by Dave. There's basically a power outlet from the alternator. This plug here is the field and stator, I think it is. It's controlled by the external regulator. There's a battery sensing voltage that goes right to here. That's this white wire that comes from the regulator. That's as close to the battery as I wanted to. I mean, ideally this is hooked up right at the battery to get you the true voltage at the battery to tell the regulator what to do. But that's close enough because it goes through this big ass connector here. That's not a problem. That's all neatened up. I'm probably going to move that fuel pump regulator relay over to this side because I don't like this jangling business here. If I move the regulator, then I can just route a single red wire. I can leave the ground connection to the ground. I can just run a single red wire to that pump. I'll run that along. Sort of like simulating a body harness, if you will. Yeah, that's that. Here's the progress I made on getting the fan installed. I had to relocate the transistor, which now conveniently rides right up in there with that copper heat sink. I flipped the coil back, moved it back some, and then I chopped out a section of my perch right here to make room for this, to make clearance for the fan blade. So fan blade fits in there nicely now. So the next part of the operation is going to be to make a stand for the radiator. And I think what I'm going to do is I have this nice 1x material. I'm going to, basically the radiator is about right where the end of this thing here is. So, I mean, you can see there's clearance. It's pretty close. So what I'll do is I'll basically notch these out, put a notch in the bottom so it can drop down, and that way I can adjust these a little bit side to side. And then when I'm happy with it, I could put a hold down mechanism. I haven't figured out yet. Probably just end up drilling a couple screws, through the sides. Well, I don't want to interfere with the radiator anyway. I'll figure out some way of attaching those a little more permanently. Maybe going through the side. I don't know. Maybe go through the bottom of these arms, screw them that way. I don't know. We'll figure out something. But the point is, these will form up a nice cradle. So what I'll do is I'll notch them so I can adjust them this way. Drop them down, leave enough up, maybe about that much, maybe about I don't know, 1.5 inches up, whatever the bottom thickness of the radiator tank is. Okay, there's no reason to go any higher than that. I'll start blocking the fins, although I doubt it. Maybe a little bit higher, maybe a solid 2 inches up. I'll leave exposed. That'll be a nice way to cradle the radiator in there, and I'll give it some room for a little bit of a foam insert. And then probably what I'll do on the sides is, since this is long, I can build a top section, put a piece of 1x this way and come up and build a vertical hold for the sides of the radiator. I won't even bolt it in or anything. Just the fact that it's there should be sufficient. And that's why I want to keep these as wide as I can. So I want to notch and let them down. I want this part to be wide to give me a nice long surface to attach those vertical posts to, if that makes any sense. If I had another piece of wood, I'd show you what I mean. I'm looking around. I don't see anything. But anyway, that's the plan. We'll drop the radiator in. I'll have to be careful about how I do that, because I know there's an outlet down low for the radiator, so I'll have to kind of clearance that. And I'll cut these down to get them the right size. I'll probably just drop them in there, just kind of assemble it on site. I'm not gonna try to, sometimes measuring gets you into trouble. You're better off to just leave everything a little bit long and then fit it. That way you don't screw up any measurements. If you have the actual thing sitting here that you're trying to fit to, it generally works better. But that's all. I test ran it again. Everything's still running fine. Did I do anything else to clean up? I got rid of some of the markings. I don't need to have the tags on anything anymore. Like I said, the only goal I really have at this point is to clean up some of the wiring a little bit better, especially on this side. And I'm wondering about what instrumentation I want. I've got oil pressure, I've got fuel pressure, which, by the way, is holding quite nicely. It's still sitting there at 30 from the last time I ran it. Well, that's pretty cool. So the injectors are definitely not leaking anymore. So, okay, instrumentation. So I have oil pressure right down there. Manual oil pressure, manual gas pressure. The only thing I guess I could monitor would be the engine coolant and maybe the voltage to confirm that thing's working. If I do I was thinking about putting a thermostat, literally sticking it into the neck of the radiator. The problem with that is then you can't put the radiator cap on, all right? So I might go ahead and utilize this temperature sending unit here. That's a resistance element that changes resistance as the water heats up. I don't have another temperature gauge. I don't feel like stripping it off of that one. So I might just connect that up to a volt ohm meter and find out a conversion for ohms to temp. And I could even get a little piece of paper and just, put it on the bottom of the, if I could find one of those really super cheap, hey, that'd be a nice idea. It was really super cheap $2 volt ohm meters you get at Harbor Freight, and just put the resistance, and I'll just make a custom heat gauge, I can calibrate it on the spot. I'll put the thermostat in, I'll put that thing in, and I'll just calibrate it. We could do that. That way we get a temperature, and maybe another one of those super cheap Harbor Freight things for a voltmeter. I mean, I got a million voltmeters there where I could probably scab something together. But it'd be nice to have full instrumentation, water temp, voltage, oil pressure, and fuel pressure. I don't know if I'll get around to that or not. But like I said, the first things first, we got to get the radiator installed. I got hoses on the way. Had to order hoses. They're coming, upper, lower. Clean up this wire harness a little bit. Relocate that fuel pump relay to the other side to clean that wiring up. And then I'll go through and I'll do some more lead dress on the inside here. Like I said, my goal here is to make this one a much neater, more professional looking test stand. Always, strive for continuous improvement. Don't just keep doing the same thing over and over again like this mess. What a nightmare. That is just a wreck. I'm probably going to, when I get done with this, I'm going to go back in there and re-rack this whole thing, because it's a nice setup. It's just that when I was doing this, I was kind of a noob to what I was doing and did a pretty lousy job. So we can do better. We can do much better, and we will. But anyway, that's it for now. I just want to share an update with you. The engine, it's cranked right up again. It's running fantastic. Actually, it didn't crank right up again. It was not habit. You know what? I had removed the airflow meter, right? When I cut that perch, I reinstalled the airflow meter, but I didn't do? I didn't hook it back up. So apparently it defaults to a super rich condition when it does that without the airflow meter input. So I turned the power off, hooked it back up, cranked right, ran it up for a couple seconds, so it clearly had a lot of fuel and flooding in there, and then it started up, and then it was fine, perfect again. So we're all good to go. All right, more later. After I get the radiator in and the hose is hooked up, I'll bring it back. Thanks for watching. Bye.